wanted to get a chance to see and hear from the panelists. So, okay, does it say that I'm recording? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna kick it off by kind of going over today's agenda. So first, we're gonna have the panelists introduce themselves. WUMA and BEC, the Business of Entertainment Club, and WashU Marketing Association, which is putting on this event. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves, and then we'll move into Q&A. So our exec boards have put together a couple questions for the panelists, but we would love to hear your questions. Feel free to send them in the chat, and I'll ask them throughout the panel. And after that, we'll go ahead and move into breakout rooms. So there'll be around 5 to 7 minutes each, and they'll be kind of informal, and we'll give you a chance as an attendee to introduce yourself to the panelists, and you'll get to kind of go through 4 rotations and talk to everyone. That said, please turn your camera on so this event could be interactive, especially during the breakout rooms. And I think that's all I have. We'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so to introduce myself, I'm Shreya. I'm the VP of Events for WashU Marketing Association, or one of the VPs, and I'll pass it off to Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm the other VP of Events for WashU Marketing Association.
Hi guys, I'm Shay. I'm a VP of Communications, studying marketing with a minor in film studies.
Hey guys, my name's Ava. I'm co-president of BEC, and I'm majoring in finance and minoring in Spanish and legal studies.
Hi guys, I'm Caleb, also a president of BEC, and I'm majoring in film and philosophy and minoring in the business of entertainment.
And if we could have our panelists introduce themselves too, if you guys could kind of tell us your names, your current or previous roles in entertainment, and what you studied while you were at WashU.
Hi everyone, Andrew Bernstein. I am a graduate of the class of '89, so long time ago, but loved WashU, and I'm excited to be here talking with you. I have been a PR executive mostly on the film side for the better part of my career here in LA. Currently just working sort of project to project, doing a lot of freelance work, but most of my career has been on the studio side, in-house, running PR campaigns for theatrical releases. And I've been at MGM and New Line and Miramax, most recently spent 8 years at Disney. So I've hopped around, worked on all types of different films. So that's me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Otero. On the other side of the spectrum, I just graduated from WashU in the era of Zoom University in May 2021. And currently I'm an East Coast page at NBC Universal. So basically, for those who aren't familiar, it's a rotational program where you go through 4 different assignments, but they just changed it to 3. Currently on my 3rd assignment, about to enter my 4th one, but so far I've been through audience production key for Late Night with Seth Meyers, currently a brand strategist for Peacock, and then my first one was as a corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion page. And then at WashU, I studied marketing and minored in business of entertainment Spanish.
I guess I forgot to say that. I majored in sociology, and at the time, we were the last class that they offered the sociology major. It was very controversial. They got rid of that that whole line of major and study, and they wrapped it into something else. I'm not sure. I think it may be back in another form. But anyway, I was a sociology major and a business minor.
All right, I guess I'm next. I'm Catherine Jaruzelski. I was in the class of 2016 at WashU. I studied psychology with minors in math and Spanish. We did not yet have the business of entertainment minor then. If we had, I definitely would have done that. So I worked at Paramount, formerly known as Viacom CBS, for 5.5 years on their social media team. I was mostly focused on Comedy Central, and I'm using past tense because I actually do not work there anymore. I left in January to go back to school. I'm getting a master's in consumer psychology at NYU. But yeah, until very recently, I was at Paramount, and I'm excited to talk to you all.
How interesting. Hi, I'm Judas Silver. I think I graduated in 2018, but I graduated early, so I may be the class of 2019. Don't know or care. I studied film and psych. I am currently an agent in the video games department at United Talent Agency. So I work with video game developers, like full-scale teams that do everything, and I find them millions of dollars to make the games they want to make and negotiate their deals. I started in the mailroom and worked my way up through that very traditional system. Excited to chat as well.
Thank you so much, guys. So the first question that WUMA and Beck have for you is, what is your typical workday and like one of your roles look like? It could be previous one, could be your current one, whatever you'd like to share. And again, feel free to send questions in the chat to any of the attendees.
I can go first. I guess one of the agent appeals is that like every day is so different. But the bulk of what I do, I have clients that I find often just through like press articles, like impression pieces on indie games. I reach out to them or find a way to get an intro through my network and then pitch them on UTA. Sometimes, actually often, it takes like 2 years of chatting to actually like work with someone. Then when they have a pitch ready, they need like a playable prototype most of the time. So then we like help them with the deck and crafting the narrative of the pitch, not like the narrative of the game, but like the narrative of why this team wants to make this game now, and what they're looking for in each partner. We go through our list of like potential buyers, which is like a mix of traditional publishers, which would be like the equivalent of a movie studio, like platform holders, so like PlayStation, Xbox, Netflix now, I guess, probably even more so after today. And then there are like a bunch of funds and investments, and we like whittle down the list to like everyone who could be right, set up all the pitches. I'm with all the clients on the pitches, even though like they're doing the lifting and the meetings. And then hopefully we get a few people interested and they give term sheets and we like negotiate the term sheets off of each other. And then we go from there and like land with one long form and do the negotiations on that with the client's lawyer. So yeah, right now I have 2 things in the market and I'm in like the paperwork stage of one. So we're getting our first offer this week, most likely, and maybe another one next week, and trying to throw Netflix in there. So yeah, it's mostly that. It's very like cyclical, but you can't like plan it. Like I had nothing to do for like 2 weeks, a few weeks ago, and now I have like way too much to do. But it's kind of fun that way.
I can go next. So, I mean, my typical workday on the social team at Paramount, I mean, it varied a lot depending on what our priorities were at the moment. If there was like a new premiere coming up, we might be meeting with the teams from that show to see like what kind of content is being captured, like what we can use on social, where and when we'll put it out in the lead up to the premiere and post premiere. Sometimes we'd be planning social support for like more of a social impact initiative, like mental health awareness or something. And we might be looking at content from like our archive shows that like speaks to those themes, or partnering with outside digital talent to make content that we would use on Comedy Central's digital channels. Or we might work with, or we might be like brainstorming or planning like kind of a stunty idea, like for the mental health example, we had done like a stand-up comedy live stream that like spoke to themes of mental health. So just kind of like the planning and like project management of kind of all that stuff. Then on top of that, there's also just like a lot of day-to-day maintenance of like keeping our social feeds running, like finding fun clips and memes from our shows, supporting whatever shows are currently airing or that are on Paramount Plus, posting just like jokes and content that are maybe relevant to like a trend or a holiday. And also, of course, just like keeping an eye on what our followers are saying, what talent and press are saying about us on social. And yeah, just kind of keeping tabs on all of that. yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's like. I mean, a fun but sometimes stressful part of social media is that it is very always on. So you're kind of there's always something happening, and things are constantly changing and shifting with the trends. So it's a very like dynamic kind of business to be in.
In the world of PR, again, it's similar. No 2 days look alike. You could walk in thinking that you're going to be doing one thing, and your day gets completely blown up by who knows what. But typically, what I have been doing is really overseeing the campaigns. The most recent full-time job I had, I spent 8 years at Disney, and we were a global PR team. So we were working with our teams around the world, our PR and marketing teams around the world, to launch these films globally. So there's obviously a big part of it is working with the domestic team. So making sure that everything from film festivals, press junkets, premieres, talk shows, interviews, magazine covers, anytime anybody from the film, whether they are in front of the camera or behind it, is out there promoting the film, whether it be on their social channels or in in traditional media, or at a content day where we're taping something, or on a red carpet or wherever. The PR team is sort of behind the scenes, pulling it all together, making sure they're on message, writing talking points, making sure the production notes are right, and the one-page descriptions of the films, and everyone's bios, and making sure everyone is in the right place, and all the travel, and getting their glam. I mean, it's a lot of, it's kind of endless, and it's a lot of detail work. So that when they show up, wherever the talent or the director or the costume designer is showing up to help to promote the film, they're in the right place at the right time, and they're looking good, and they know what to say, and then it's a little bit out of our hands. So there's a lot involved. We obviously work very closely with all the other marketing disciplines, very closely with social, very closely with the creative team if we're launching a trailer or any kind of, if a spot is running in the Super Bowl, for instance, that's obviously something enormous, but everyone is hands-on in the launch of a major asset for the film. And then we also work on obviously lots of travel, and if the talent are traveling, whether it's domestically or whether they're going on a tour internationally, and with the markets and everything that comes with that. So it's a lot, but it's obviously very exciting and rewarding.
Yeah, and then I'll just round it out. For me, so it's interesting because my role is also pretty not routine every single day. So like I mentioned, I'm on the Peacock brand strategy team. So essentially what we're doing is I'm on a small team there. We do a lot of work with like the brand of Peacock as its own. So looking into a lot of like how consumers are navigating the space. So for instance, one project I was just working on is how we're co-branding on platforms. So like how are we showing other NBCU brands? So like Oxygen, Bravo, NBC itself, sports, etc. But some other things as well are we work with originals and like captivate the strategies for those. So with upcoming originals, we'll like talk with the production team and like the producers, the management team behind all of it, sort of get their feel, like what are they envisioning for the show and how can we like create a campaign for its release and like for the actual show's run. So that's very interesting because it combines this sort of like marketing perspective with production space. And then also it's interesting as well because as a page, you're sort of doing multiple things throughout NBC whenever you're needed. So for me, I will be working audience services for shows such as The Tonight Show, Late Night with Seth Meyers, Saturday Night Live, whenever they need me, which is fun, but also still work. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it's funny because we do a lot of competitive work too. So to be on the call with everyone else, like, and looking at like Paramount or Disney, it's a lot of like competitive work as well in this industry.
Thank you all for sharing. And if any of the attendees, if you guys have like specific questions about like if about one of Zach's rotations in the NBCU page program or something like that, you'll definitely get the chance to ask when you're in breakout rooms. So keep those in mind. But with that, the next question is, what's your favorite part of your job, or what's like a favorite project that you've worked on?
Andrew,
Well,
you go.
I mean, I think what I like most about this area is sort of touches on what I said. There's so much. I have my hands in lots of different things. No day is looks the same, and I get to work on. I've gotten to work on so many different types of films. I love entertainment in all forms, but I've always been a movie buff, first and foremost. And I've really gotten the opportunity to work on foreign films, blockbuster franchise films, animated films, small independent films, which has been great. But also doing PR, I wouldn't want to do PR. It doesn't have the same appeal to me if I were to do PR for, a corporate, it's like a product, because you're with that product forever. In my world, the movie comes, we work hard, it opens, it goes downstream to other people, and that's good and bad. But because you really, you get to know these people, you work closely with them, and then the movie opens and you're kind of, you move on to the next project. So I like that. I like the diversity, and I like, we don't get stuck, we don't get like, oh my God, I still have to figure out another campaign for this pen, or, this particular brand of toilet paper, whatever it is. So that's what I like best about the job. I know I was rambling, but.
So I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to say, probably for me, what's interesting about the program that I'm in is that you basically join with a cohort. So it could be like 15 to 25 people in like your class. And so you're all going through different rotations. And while I love the work I'm doing too, I think the thing that surprised me most about my position was that how like close I've gotten with everybody, and like how it's very like fulfilling to work alongside these people you could see as your competitors per se, since you're like going for some of the same positions in the industry. But it's honestly like very what's the word, like very like engaging to work with everyone and like build this sense of community. Like at WashU, I was in the Rodriguez Scholars program, which Courtney is also in, and there I found like a lot of that same sense of community of like everyone pushing each other to succeed. And so it's been a very like nice like introduction to the actual career industry for me.
For me, it's two things. One, I always just wanted to work with diverse voices. And there are enough people doing that in film and TV, but no one was doing that in games. And every deal I'd done except one is like an incredible diversity story. Like both what the game is and like the team making it and like all the stuff behind it. I've done one unannounced deal, so I can't tell you that much about it, but it's like basically like the only South African game developer. It was like 2 people when I signed them, and now they're like 20, making like a game that's 30 times the budget of the last one, with like basically the best game company in the world. And now like the coolest people ever like are gonna want to make it a movie too. So that's awesome. And the other thing I like about being an agent, it's like I like really fast-paced kinetic things, and it's very like, it's like the idea that something could happen kind of like drives it. like out of like hopefully everything I'm pitching like will get sold, but like I don't know, some of it won't. And like if you have a call that's like a bit promising, I don't know, that's just like exciting, even if it never like materializes. So I'm into like the idea of things happening. I used to only be like, oh no, like I only care if like the thing actually happens. But I realized like it's a fun journey to like try to get excited by things and like make them happen. If that makes sense.
And I feel like my answer is very similar to both Andrew and Zachary's. What I liked about the work itself was that it was very kind of like project based and frequently changing, especially once I kind of moved out of like entry level roles. It was very much more like kind of focusing on, okay, like how are we going to approach social for this upcoming show or this upcoming priority or Paramount Plus or whatever it is, and kind of like seeing that through from start to finish. I found that very like gratifying, and it felt like things were constantly changing and I wasn't just like kind of stuck in something stagnant. And then I also just really love the people I worked with. I was lucky to have like a really great team and a really great boss who was like super supportive and like supportive of my growth within the company, and a great mentor. And I just worked with really like smart, funny, creative people. So, which I think is really like the key to being happy at any job, is just being surrounded by awesome people. So I was really lucky that that was the case for me.
Thank you for sharing. Kind of on the flip side, what's something you didn't expect about or didn't like about your career journey so far?
Not much I didn't like, but one thing I didn't expect, like I went into UTA like wanting the independent film group. I was very of the mindset that everyone should have, where like your first desk and when you're an assistant at an agency like doesn't need to be like where you land for the next like 50 years of your life. Like you can try things out. In the indie film group at the time, there was no assistant openings, so I just like tried out video games because I like was genuinely interested, and like my boss is like a legend. And then like within 3 months of starting in that, I like realized I liked it more than indie film. So just like being flexible was so important. I think a lot of the kids these days like aren't flexible, and it's like this just not going to end well. So especially if you work in an agency, or I guess like a thing like Zach's doing where there's like multiple departments or projects or things, like being flexible is really important. It's not just going to be like a straight ladder even at an agency.
I mean, in general, it's kind of it's a hard question to answer for me, because most of I really love, you know, most aspects of my career and the jobs I've had, but certainly at some of the companies I've worked for, things get bogged down, whether it be with finance or with you know, colleagues that don't see eye to eye when you're really trying to push an idea through, and there can just be kind of layers of resistance that, you know, is just kind of par for the course. Bigger companies obviously have more invested and more people will have their hands in the mix, and it's not as easy to, you know, to keep that, you know, ball, you know, moving down the court. But you adapt and you figure out a way to make it work. And sometimes there's a great idea and it's just not possible given the timing or the money or the resources or whatever. And that's frustrating. But that's all part of the process.
So I mentioned that I recently left my job. And the main reason that I did that was because I decided I wanted to pursue more of a career in research. I'm still on the industry side, and I had actually previously had some internship experience in more of the research side. So I kind of wanted to get back to that, and like not even necessarily in the entertainment industry. And I just kind of wanted to go back to school for my own personal growth. But I'll acknowledge that also a little part of my decision was that I found that, at least during my time at Paramount slash Viacom, there was a lot of like internal turmoil, I guess you could say, a lot of reorgs, a lot of layoffs. And I think probably everyone on this panel knows that unfortunately that is a frequent occurrence in the entertainment industry, as it is in a lot of industries. It can be a little tumultuous sometimes, and especially with all the kind of like changes with streaming and everything, like things are constantly shifting. And while that can lead to things being like exciting and change is not necessarily a bad thing, it can also, of course, lead to some stress and layoffs and things like that. So that was one aspect of working in the entertainment industry that I did not necessarily love.
I agree completely. Been there.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I guess, piggybacking off of that too, definitely from my perspective of just starting in the industry, like how it was hard to first get your foot in the door as well. Like you really have to have that initiative. And I guess like we all talked about like adaptability, sort of just like learning from like, okay, maybe this isn't going to work out. Like if you're really passionate about it, like you keep going and finding that role that like really fits for you and is at the right time. And I bring this up because it was extremely difficult graduating when COVID like just started, because it was a terrible, terrible time for entertainment. Didn't know what the world was going to look like. So it's definitely something you just like, if you're very passionate about this, and if you want to be a part of this, like you have to be willing to hear no quite a few times before you finally find that right spot.
Thank you for sharing your like honest and like your real experiences. It's really helpful for me, and I'm sure everyone else who's attending this event. The next question I have is, what organizations or internships like outside of WashU were you a part of that kind of helped you navigate a career in entertainment?
For me, I knew like nothing about entertainment. I started as like a film and comp sci major because I didn't think that like working in entertainment was practical. Then my freshman year, Hollywood, the WashU Young Alumni Network in Hollywood started. There was like a panel. So I went to that. Then I like emailed all the 5 panelists like right after. And one of them was like, "Oh, you're so proactive. No one's done this yet." So like she sent my resume to everyone she's ever met, basically. Then I had like an internship within like a month and then dropped the comp sci major. I had like 9 different internships before I graduated, because I knew by sophomore year that I wanted to be an agent, and like working in the mailrooms, like as similar with the page program, like harder to get into than Harvard. So I wanted a leg up. I did the alumni career externship my sophomore year with Jamie Schutz in New York. He let me shadow his agent for an hour. That's how I learned I wanted to do that. Then my more like prestigious internships were at Stars, the TV network, where there's a bunch of WashU alums, and I worked for Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's company. And then I interned at WME, one of our competitors, and then I graduated early to intern at UTA. Some other random ones sprinkled without. But at WashU, there wasn't. Hollywood was like the only club I did that I would say helped with this. I don't even know if that's a club technically.
I think that the Facebook group is still active. We can share
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, similar to Judah, I feel like really my path to the entertainment industry came through internships that I didn't even necessarily like get through WashU. I obviously have no regrets about attending WashU. I love WashU, but really more of my kind of professional experience came from my summer internships, which were all in New York. My first internship was at a small startup called Trender that did kind of social media, like listening analytics and stuff for TV network clients. And that was kind of my introduction to this like field of social media. At the time, I was doing social media research for TV networks. And then the next summer, kind of through a lucky connection, I got an internship also in social media research at HBO, which was really awesome. They had a great internship program. And then with that on my resume, I got the internship at Comedy Central the following year. And then that's the same team that I later ended up working on. So it all just kind of fell into place, and some of it was luck and some of it was just kind of like networking and applying to the right things. But that was kind of my path in that regard. The one thing that I did do at WashU that I think was very, at least like informative to the job I ended up having was I was on Stud Life. I did, yeah, I got a heart from Jaden because I know she is as well. But I had a few different roles there over my time at WashU. I was the senior cadenza editor. I did social media for them. I was social media director and managing editor of online content and stuff. So kind of before I even necessarily knew that I wanted to do that as a career, I was doing like social media work for them and doing entertainment related reporting and stuff. So that was like a really awesome experience, and I think ended up actually being helpful for the work I ended up doing down the line.
I mean, I'm so old that when I was at WashU, none of these organizations existed that I mean, I think I would have known. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the business school with the minor that I had. It wasn't there. There wasn't even a film program. I just always had a passion for entertainment. And it drew me to LA. I never had a summer internship. I mean, there was no internet when I started. I mean, I sound like a caveman, but it was just, I needed to be here in order to like break in, and it was just a lot of hard work and a lot of phone calls and a lot of there was no email either. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I'm a dinosaur. So you would send a letter. You would send a letter in the U.S. post office. You would send your resume. You would look at newspapers, and there was like I can't even remember, honestly. There was a lot of temp agencies that specialized in entertainment. So I registered with every temp agency in town. And it was just getting my foot in the door and a lot of hard work. And, it's always been about networking. This business in particular is always about who you know. And more so, I would say today than even when I was, just getting my start. I just think it's sexy. It's very appealing. The internet, obviously, there's just whole other dimensions to this business that didn't exist when I was getting my start. So there's just a lot more. There's a lot more to do. So, but networking, I think, is the key to any, to starting any career, and that hasn't changed. And that's exactly what I did when I first moved here. I would speak with anybody. A friend's aunt's cousin's stepson, was an agent. Like, I would just track down anyone, whether they were 1 degree away or 10 degrees away, because what did I have to lose? And that's how I did it. And I, did a lot of temp work, and it just opened some doors, and there you have it.
Thank you guys for sharing. I feel like with all of your like different points in your careers, it's all valuable advice to share. So thanks so much. But on the advice note, before we kind of wrap up the panel portion and switch into breakout rooms after this, the question I wanted to ask was, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to be in your shoes?
One piece of advice that I often will give to people who are like in college or kind of just starting out their career is to sort of be willing to start small, meaning that like if you ultimately want to work at like a NBC or an HBO or something like that, you're not necessarily going to get that job right out the bat, but applying to things like agencies or startups or small production companies or things that are doing work that is very similar to the work that you would be doing at a like bigger name company is a great way to you're much more likely to kind of get your foot in the door there and then build those skills that you need and will be very instrumental to you than getting a job at like what might actually be your dream company. So yeah, I would just be willing to kind of search all over, look for roles that you might not necessarily have initially thought about, and kind of cast a wide net.
I kind of second that, and a little, also take any meeting that comes your way, even if it's an area or a person or just something that you don't think is the right fit. You never know where it may lead. And knowledge and networking and informational interviews. You want to just, I just say, rejection is hard, but it's part of the process. And in order to help, get used to it, just meet with people and use LinkedIn, use these resources, use as much, anyone that says, I know someone, or you should meet with someone, like follow up, stay on them, just, be aggressive, because it's really, it's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just echoed both those things, and what I said earlier, just like the flexibility. Like most of the exciting stuff happening in entertainment now is like what we'd call like non-legacy, like not lit or talent. It's like podcasts and games and digital, and the venture department or like our like IQ research department, which I guess like Catherine might like something like she could be interested if she like had an open mindset like she does. Like that's like a super cool department that like people love, but like typically don't know about in advance. Yeah, just like the flexibility, because you never know. And yeah, not adding much.
Yeah, and just again echoing the sentiment of keeping genuine connections. So I feel like again, we talked about like putting your foot in the door and like starting out with that first job. Like whoever gets you there, or like whoever helps you along the way, like don't get that job and like forget about them, because again, you'll never know where they end up or where you'll end up. And I feel like one thing I've learned a lot is like keeping that like network of going. Like I had a lot of mentors help me, and like I like doing this stuff and like getting to know more people who are interested in the industry, because I feel like that's always been a pattern for like me and WashU. Like the alumni network is very tight and like willing to like communicate with you. So definitely make genuine connections.
Thank you, guys. Okay, we're gonna break off into breakout rooms. There'll be small groups of like 4 to 5 people, with one member of WUMA or BEC and one alumni panelist. And if you've been kind of thinking of questions about their specific industries or the specific roles they've worked, this is like your time to ask them. We'll do like a little intros of everyone who's attending, and they'll be brief, but it's a good way to meet people, ask your questions, and then we'll come back into the main room and close off the event. But I think Shay's got the breakout room set up, but if you just want to send those out. Okay, cool. Did you guys get a message? Okay, perfect. I'll hang out here if anyone doesn't have an assignment. Okay, cool. Perfect. I'll go join Henry.
Sorry. You go to 2, I'll go to 1.
Okay. Henry, do you have a breakout room to go to?
Oh, there it is.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Got it. See ya.
And I think I'm really just trying to explore as many facets of the entertainment industry as possible right now. I'm really passionate about storytelling in a lot of different forms, and I'm trying to see where I best fit.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm double majoring in English and
And we're back in the main room. Just give me 1 second. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry if anyone got cut off at any point. I know breakout rooms are always hard to navigate, but thank you so much to the panelists for attending, for answering questions, for telling us about your journeys. It's so helpful to all of us as students. And it's also so great to see some WashU alumni representation in the entertainment industry. I know it's steadily growing, but it's there. And I guess just to close off the event, if any of the members of WUMA or BEC are interested in joining one or the other, you can just scan the QR codes to join WUMA on WooGo. And this is the QR code to BEC's GroupMe. So feel free to join, and thank you so much. We'll send a follow-up email and a recording of the main portion of the event out back to you. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for attending.
Thanks,
My
everyone. Good
pleasure.
luck.
Good luck,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
Okay, cool.
That went really well.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, the breakout rooms are kind of a bitch, but I think I ended up.
No, you did great.
Yeah, you did
Like,
amazing.
I had to like manually switch every person from one to two to two to three. So it like took me time to move everybody. And
Yeah.
then it got all confusing. So, but I think
No, that's completely fine. I think like in general, the amount of time was really good. Like people actually had like really interesting,
Yeah.
like specific questions about like taking, people shit in the entertainment industry, or
Yeah.
just like, like the different types of careers, or like, how did you get your first break? I don't know. And everyone was like cameras on, engaged. So
people are a lot more engaged than I thought. So
yeah, I know. Cause I was like getting scared during the panel portion. I was like, oh my God, we're not gonna ask questions.
Yeah.
All of my rooms were like very talkative, like talking until he got cut off. Like no awkward pause at all.
Yeah,
So that was great.
definitely. Oh, that was wonderful. Okay. I think next steps from this event, Courtney, any word on like sending thank you vouchers to the panelists?
Yeah, so basically in order to do that, I had to register the event on WooGo. So that recently got registered as an event. So yay. I followed up with Jessica to get more information on the next steps to make a request, because she said I had to like register the event first. She has not gotten back to me, so I'm going to follow up with her, but I'm currently still working on that.
Okay, perfect. And then if we could just like, hopefully within like the next like week or two, if we like have like something sent out to them to thank them. Caleb, we were just thinking of doing like the Career Center said that we could possibly explore the option of like Uber Eats vouchers or like something to thank the panelists, which I think like would be nice, because obviously they're not going to want to keep coming back and doing these every single time. If I mean, maybe they do, but it'd be nice if there was something in it for them too.
Yeah, that's a perfect gift, I feel like.
And then I think one of the panelists didn't want to share his email, but 3 of them were okay with it. So we'll just send that information out. I'll probably get, oh my God, it's still recording.